Georgia's number one in the country this time in the AP poll, which is the poll that we use over on Dog Post. I feel like you got to pick one. We picked the AP a long time ago. We're not coaches. We are media. So we picked the media poll. And it's really just not a surprising event. Here's what the poll was. It was Georgia with 61st place votes, number one team in the country. Then Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan with 2. Ohio State with 1 first place vote. Then Alabama, LSU, USC, Penn State, Florida State, Clemson, and Washington. So the only 3 teams with first place votes were the Dogs, Wolverines, and Ohio State. I think Reese Davis said that he would vote Michigan number 1, so he's one of the 2 people that did that. Kind of going away consideration, Georgia obviously is a heavy favorite in Las Vegas to win this thing. Here's what Kirby said the other day. Many people are making an assumption off last year's team and their accomplishment. I asked this team after the scrimmage and after we ran, what have you done to deserve anything you've gotten? They have done nothing. He's not wrong. So where we're at with this thing right now is Georgia will be the prohibitive favorite to win the national championship. Usually the team that comes in as the favorite or the number one team in the country does not win the national championship. I mean, neither time that Georgia won it were they the number one team coming into the thing. And it's just a marker. It's sort of like a poll in politics or, stuff like that. It's just a snapshot. It's not necessarily indicative of the future. It's a snapshot of that moment. And I do think this is the right call. I think, the coaches got it right. The AP got it right. This is the right call coming into this thing. Will it wind up like this? Will it wind up with, Georgia playing Michigan and Ohio State in a national championship game, or even perhaps Alabama? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You have 6 SEC schools in this top 25 with Georgia, Bama at 4, LSU at 5, Tennessee at 12, Ole Miss at 22, and Texas A&M at 23. So Georgia playing 3 of those teams and will likely play another if they get to Atlanta. So for all of this discussion of Georgia having a weak schedule, I'm just looking, for instance, USC plays Washington. I don't know if they play Washington or Utah or Oregon. I don't know the Pac-12 situation. In the ACC, Florida State and Clemson play one another, and then after that, you're looking. It's a while. Clemson plays Notre Dame. I think they play North Carolina. So Clemson plays 3 top 25s just off the top of my head. Obviously, Florida State playing LSU and Clemson. So this discussion of Georgia's schedule being soft, I mean, we might want to slow that talk down. But whatever. I mean, this is what we do. And it's okay. It's just how it goes. But I do think that one thing that's hard to get around is this is the first preseason poll since 2015 that Alabama has not gotten a first place vote. That is a long time ago that they've not gotten a first place vote by someone to enter the season. Hey, make sure you're picking up our 2023 preview for free. You get it free, including all of the Scoop on Dog Post when you sign up down below. Our friends at Red Zone are also giving you a free t-shirt. You're getting 20% off any item in their store. It can be a different t-shirt, like this Boom t-shirt celebrating Georgia's brand new mascot, Boom. Okay, number 11. It can be a Vince Dooley hat. It can be any hat of your choice. It can be a panoramic shot. If you've bought Double Dogs, when you sign up down below, I will give you another month for free. So sign up, you get all that stuff for free, and then you get double, if you were a Double Dogs purchaser, you get that as well. So take advantage of this. We're going to run out. We know we are. I was just at Red Zone the other day. So don't be a person that misses out on this. This is a great offer, and we're going to run out because a lot of people are taking advantage of it. Doesn't mean you can't. It means you can. So do it now before we run out. I think we will run out. We will not have this in September. We will probably run out in, I don't know how many days, but it's days. It's not months. So I think when you step back and look at this whole thing, Georgia's going to have to play somebody from the West in Atlanta if they win the SEC East. In order to win the SEC East, they have to go beat Tennessee. Okay, well, might not have to beat Tennessee to win the SEC East, but that is going to be a game that will matter. It's I think the overarching point too, though, is that this Georgia team is in a position now where it is clearly the number one program in the country. It may or may not be the number one team, although a lot of people think it is number one. I think it's clearly the number one program. I think there are other programs that are in their sphere for sure. Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, perhaps LSU, and then there's a drop off. I think that Florida State is a hot team. LSU is a hot team. One of those teams won't be as hot after Labor Day, and we will learn so much. One of the reasons why we started football when media days began about a month ago. That's when football really starts for us. By the time the games get here, everybody's jacked up game week, and we're like on week 7 or something like that. So we're way into it as people who cover the team, going to go see high school games and all that stuff. But I really am eager to see Georgia play. I want to see that first game. What is this going to look like? Because you can tell a lot by week 1. I mean, I'm not going to, there are certain things that we believe here at Dog Posts. One of them is that talent matters more than almost anything. If you have talent, you can be really great. If you don't, you can only coach them up so much. All right? So recruiting matters the most in college sports. The other thing is, all you got to do is watch. You watch, that will tell you if teams are good. We watch, probably too much, but we watch a lot. And that first weekend will tell you all you need to know. Thursday night, the Gators are on. The week before that, on the week 0, USC is on. You got the Gators and Utah on that first Thursday night of week 1. Friday night, there's a Big Ten game. Saturday, you got the whole slate. Then, of course, you have LSU. Georgia Tech is Friday night, if you care to watch that. They play in Louisville. Gary Stoken, and then throwing the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Chick-fil-A kickoff game, that night. So there will be something to watch Thursday night that Georgia's interested, the Gators. Friday night, Georgia Tech. Saturday, obviously, Georgia plays a 6 o'clock game to where you can watch some of the early games. The early games are not unbelievable. Notre Dame is also the week the SC plays. So we're about, I think it's 10 days from today where you get real football. You can really see, does USC look good? Like, do they look legit or not? We're 12 days, excuse me. So we're not far away from this thing really getting rolling. You'll see if Georgia's the number one team in the country immediately. Okay, in 2019, it was clear they were not quite right on offense, Georgia. They beat Vanderbilt 30-6, but there were no explosive plays. They just ground Vanderbilt down. I want to see easy chunk plays. I want to see easy scores. I want to see Georgia scoring simple, easy, explosive. James Cook was on that team. I mean, James Cook was on that team in 19. Those guys should have been scoring like crazy with explosive plays. They didn't have the receivers, see? They didn't have explosive receivers that you really need. Not a problem anymore. So how explosive will this number one team in the country be? Georgia's been number one a lot lately, y'all. This is not new for them. So you got to think about how many big games they've played in. This is going off memory. In 21. Well, really even 20. You got the Alabama game, Florida game, Cincinnati game. Those were big games. They lost 2 of the 3 of them. In 21, they play Clemson. Then they play Kentucky. Then they play, Arkansas, Kentucky, Auburn, all ranked games, all big games. And then they played, I don't think it was a huge game, but whenever you play at Neyland, that's tough. And then they had the SEC championship game, the Michigan game, the Alabama game after that. And then they opened the season last year against Oregon. I mean, they're used to this, y'all. This is not new. They played number 1 BCS or number 1 college football playoff team, Tennessee. They're used to being number 1 or number 2, whatever it may be. I mean, last year they were number 1 the whole season, except like the first few weeks of the year or whatever it was. I mean, this doesn't matter to them. Now, I do think it matters in that Georgia has replaced Alabama. Now, can that change? Can Alabama, do something different? I mean, yeah, they could. That's possible. But they probably won't. Not the way it looks right now. But the only thing about Alabama that hanging around is they have recruited with Georgia. Like last season's Alabama recruiting class, the one that just got to campus, that is as good or better than the one that Georgia's putting together right now. So this clash with the Titans is not quite over yet. But Georgia has quarterbacks, plural. Alabama, they're going to need some development on that front. And, they were really good at that for a long time. But quarterback-centric Alabama has not led to national championships. Defense-centric Alabama has led to national championships. Sure, they did it in 17 and they did it in 20. But I'm talking about winning 4 and 6 years or whatever it was. So Georgia, the pattern is still the same. It's just that it's not been for Bama the way it's been for Georgia. But I think it's a tremendous opportunity for Georgia to go wire to wire. I think the last time we saw that was maybe, let me just type this in here. I can't remember. Well, technically, Alabama went wire to wire, but they lost a game. So I don't know if you can really say that was the case for that 17 team. They came in as number one and they left as number one, but they were not number one the entire year. They almost went wire to wire in 18, Alabama, but then Clemson beat their skulls in. So then that was out. But we've not seen that in some time, and there's a reason for that because other teams are good too. And okay, so there's only number one in the preseason going all the way and winning it all. That's happened with. This is who I thought it was too. Florida State in 99 and USC in 2004. But neither of those teams were going for their third title. It's hard to think Georgia will go wire to wire because if they don't play well, Ohio State or Michigan will jump them to be the one. Whereas at Florida State, at that time, there was really not a lot of teams in their way. They played the national championship against Virginia Tech in 2004 with SC. They had won the national championship against LSU the year before, split it with LSU, and then they won it. I mean, they just throttled teams, that USC team. Let me just look real quick to see if that SC team played anybody that was competitive with it. I feel like they did have a competitive game, but that's the one thing about, where these guys are at right now. That was a halfway competitive. Yeah, they played a competitive game against Virginia Tech, where they won by 11 in Washington, D.C. They beat Stanford by a field goal, tight game. And then they beat Cal by 6. They beat Oregon State on the road by 8. And then they had to hold on against UCLA, but they won. So there's some tight games in there, and you get credit for that. I mean, I remember the SC that I remember, they were thought of being unbeatable. And of course, a year later, they were defeated by Texas. But even that season, I mean, they were scoring a lot of points. But even then, they had tight games. The Bush push. I remember watching that in the press box at Vanderbilt right before I was going on the field that night. That was an amazing moment in college football history. But can this Georgia Bulldogs team do it? The answer is yes. Will they? Is what you're going to have to wait and find out.